Welcome back to Holistic Healing Association. Today, we'll be talking about embracing our soft heart, how to open our heart to compassion and love. Hi, David. Thank you for joining us. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thanks, Aaron. Yes, I'm a spiritual author and blogger, and as you mentioned, a somatic practitioner also now too. We studied together. We were doing our practice sessions and got to know each other that way.
And what's your favorite color, David?
I'd say these days probably blue.
Blue. Well, I'm wearing blue, so I guess that's a good sign. My favorite color is blue and green because I have the Irish background. So for that, fighting Irish. With our journey, with opening our heart, it's so important to be in community and have support. And when we're trying to heal, it's so important to be part of a community of people that are also healing along, and you can share a journey together. Sharing the struggles, the victories, the triumphs, being open with others and allowing them to be open with you. Listening and really seeing and hearing the person. Let's really embrace these connections, the people that listen to us, the people that validate us, make us feel valued and seen and heard. When we talk about opening our hearts, the first thing that comes to mind is being vulnerable. It can be a terrifying thing for many, many people. Have you experienced this at all, David?
Yes, and there's a combination of things there too, because when we're young, we're often, we're expected to be seen and not heard, so to speak, and a lot of emotions are not considered acceptable. Like expressing our anger or frustration, or like for boys especially, crying is a sissy thing, and so we're basically taught directly or indirectly to suppress our emotions, suppress how we feel, to be tough, stiff upper lip.
And you know what I personally believe is tough? Being open, being vulnerable. It's
Yeah.
I agree, many see it as a sign as weakness, but it's a strength. And feeling all of our emotions, it can be scary to feel anger or deep grief and sadness. But to really sit and allow ourselves to feel all of these emotions,
Yes, it actually
especially,
brings a richness to life too, because when we feel fear or grief or anger, and we learn to suppress that, we suppress everything else in the process. So then happiness and excitement and some of those things can get suppressed in the process as well. I also wanted to mention about Brene Brown. She's an American researcher in this kind of stuff, and she's done a bunch of research on vulnerability, which is essentially on being open and allowing our expression, our emotions to express. But we do need to learn healthy ways to express. Being able to feel our anger means we need to learn how to channel that anger in healthy ways rather than, hitting or other kinds of things that we may have tried doing when we were kids.
or we could end up in jail.
Yeah, especially as adults, yes.
And when we allow ourselves to feel our emotions, to start to open our heart and be our authentic self, it can be scary. However, it can build stronger connections with ourselves, with others, and with God. And it's a pathway to a genuine connection with spiritual growth. And I know our viewers here have a very, is very diverse group of people listening, and very diverse group of people with very many different spiritual backgrounds. But I believe, yes, it does help. It helps all of us. What's your intake on that, David?
Yeah, I would agree. And there's a richness that's available to life if we're able to experience our emotions more fully. And then I mean, we might feel that like in my experience, I felt that I was experiencing, the full range of emotions until I kind of took the cork off, so to speak, and started feeling everything that was coming up. And I discovered that it was a much fuller, richer experience of life that was possible when I opened up the heart.
Yeah. And how did you personally open up your heart?
Well, for me, it was partly through spiritual practices and partly becoming aware of that potential and and then doing some healing work also. Kind of a combination of things and just, you know, discovering that that was a possibility and so, becoming more conscious of it, putting more attention on that part of my life and allowing it to be there. I remember at one point somebody brought up about, men don't cry kind of thing. And I remember, being in a really sad movie and, you know, no tears came. And, there was people around me who were crying, but wasn't there. And I couldn't actually remember crying for years and years. But then as I did this work, then I started to react to, those kind of movies or situations that came up in my life. And I was actually able to cry, and it was just a natural expression.
Yeah,
And
and I agree.
there's a kind of a release and catharsis that can come with it as well. It's actually quite healthy.
And I agree with you 100%. And I'm glad you touched on that because it may be just harder for men to be more vulnerable because as little boys, it's supposed to be like toughen up, don't cry, right? Be
Yeah,
men.
that one. But girls, it's like much less acceptable for women to be angry, for example.
True.
Still with boys somewhat, but boys can still, vent and go out and do physical stuff to try and work it out. Whereas, play in an acid rock band or rock band or something like that, work out their anger. But for women, it's there's names for women who express their anger, because it's
And very bad words. That is very disrespectful to women.
yeah, I would agree.
Of course you would. You're a gentleman.
Mm. Thank you.
And yes, I
Some
believe,
people might disagree,
sorry?
but some might disagree, but thank you.
Well, I will tell you, ladies, I've known David for what, about a year now? And he's always been a gentleman to me and
Mm.
kind and respectful. What I'd like to start off with today is a resource to start to allow our hearts to open up. And I'm going to incorporate the kindness loving meditation prayer. I invite all of our viewers to join in. And if you feel comfortable, I invite you to sit in a chair, ground your feet onto the ground, get comfortable, get relaxed. Put your back against the chair and just get comfortable. And I invite you, if you're comfortable, to keep your eyes closed throughout this process. And I broke my glasses, David, so I can't see if your eyes are already closed or not. They're closed? Okay. All right. So I invite everyone to close their eyes if they're not already closed. And we're going to start off with a simple body scan. Grounding your feet into the ground and just putting a little bit of pressure into the ground. and just noticing how that feels on your feet. Maybe even wiggle your toes a little bit and just notice if you feel any sensations. Moving to your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, and noticing if you're feeling any emotions that arise, knowing everything is welcome. Your glutes, your hips, your lower back, moving up to your spine, your upper back, your shoulders, your neck, your jaw, noticing if your jaw is tight, maybe even moving your mouth back and forth a little. Releasing the tension. Your cheeks, your nose, your eyes, releasing the tension from your eyes, your forehead, and just noticing if you're tasting anything in your mouth. Moving back down your neck to your shoulders, maybe even wriggling your shoulders around, moving them around a little. And just completely relaxing your body, grounding your feet into the ground, your back against the chair, and completely relaxing your body. Going to your chest, your stomach, and just noticing if there's any emotions, any sensations. And doing a full body scan, again, just noticing where you're feeling your emotions, your sensations. I invite you to go back to your chest. I mean, you may like to put your hand on your heart to give a little bit of support. And just let out a sigh. Just let out another sigh. And notice how the hand on your heart, on your chest, just notice how that feels, giving yourself the support that you need. And letting out another sigh. And if there's any affirming words you'd like to say at this moment to yourself, I invite you to do so. And just notice how that feels. I invite you to do with me the loving kindness prayer meditation and say, I feel safe. I am healing. I feel at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards myself. And I invite you to say these words again and again. And notice what happens in this space, in your heart. And I invite you to say this to your family in your heart. My family is safe. My family is healing. My family feels at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards my family. And even if it's just one person, that's okay. And friends can be family. Sometimes the people who are there and give us the love and support, those are the people that are our family. The people that we can truly trust and feel safe with. And again, I invite you to say it again for our community, for your community. My community is safe. My community is healing. My community feels peace. I feel loving and kindness towards my community. And I invite you to say that a few times. And if you feel comfortable, you may like to say the same thing for someone who has slighted you. I would encourage you to say it towards someone who's really hurt you at this point. Let's try and build our capacity first. But maybe just someone who has slighted you. This person is safe. I invite you to say their name. They are healing. They feel at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards them. And you may like to even, just for a moment, reflect on even a very small memory of a positive memory of this person. And again, I invite you to say it back to yourself, for yourself, in your heart. I feel safe. I am healing. I feel peace. I feel loving and kindness towards myself. When we are going through a difficult time and we're really struggling, our bodies can harden. Our hearts can harden. We can go into a freeze response. We can go into a numbing response. And if we can connect with this small part in our heart that we feel safe, loving, and peace, and invite in the healing, that can make a significant difference. And I invite you to just notice what's happening in your heart, all aspects. And I invite you to bring in a person or God, or you may call him the divine, that reflects compassion, mercy, and love. What is your heart long for someone to say to you? Imagine them saying it to you right now. Notice what's happening in your body. Can we open ourselves to allow love, allow compassion, allow mercy and kindness in from ourselves or someone else, even a little? And just notice, simply notice. I encourage you not to judge it, but just notice if any limited beliefs arise, like I'm not worthy of love or compassion or mercy. I don't feel good enough. There's any shame that arises. And again, just bring yourself back to the mindful meditation prayer of kindness and love. And say to yourself, I feel safe. I am healing. I feel at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards myself. And I invite you just to practice this every day, a little bit at a time, just a little bit at a time, starting to open your heart just a little bit, letting yourself set your own pace when you feel safe. And David, if you'd like to open your eyes slowly and just start to look around the room slowly and just maybe give your body a little bit of a shake or move around a little. How are you feeling, David?
It's good. Thank you.
And I invite everyone to just ask themselves, how can we show up for ourselves and others in a more embodied way, with more compassion towards ourselves and others? And how would this look different? How would I react differently? Nothing needs to be fixed. Just allow the experience. I invite you to practice this every day. And everyone will be different with time, and nothing can be forced. But just start to explore and become a little bit curious. Do you want to tell us a little bit more, David, about your experience?
Well, I enjoyed it. I noticed that the sentences when the last sentence referring back to me, there was a bit of a subtle, like, oh, I don't know about that, a little bit of, not resistance is not the right word, but there was clearly a bit of a belief there that in there still that wasn't really acceptable yet. So some little thing to heal there yet, so I can see where this would be valuable.
Well, I'll give you an EP session for it. Notice how it impacts you. And it's small acts of kindness that can impact us so much and can impact the world. Thank you so much for joining. It was an honor to have you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Aaron.